Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Stephen Harvey. It's great to have you in today. Sorry for the technical difficulties. You got to just sort stuff out here. What a good start to week one coverage. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today? There we go. Great start again. There you go. How you doing today?
I'm good.
Week one coverage.
I'm looking forward to this. This is our first week one in our third year of doing it. So it's a landmark show.
You know, year three, it's a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. We have some contract situations. When it comes to Trent Williams holding out, it's officially over. Jamar Chase, though, still holding in after, he's year three. Doesn't exactly need to sign an extension right now, but he thinks he's worth it. Oh, also, Super Bowl and playoff picks after we did NFC and AFC predictions last week as well. So a lot to talk about. So let's jump right into the show with the first topic, which is talking about Trent Williams, because he did sign a deal, which I believe is 3 years, $82.66 million with $48 million guaranteed. He gets about a $7.1 million contract boost for this year. He's been holding out the entire offseason, has done nothing. The numbers show that Brock Purdy absolutely needs him. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But I want to know, how big do you think this is that the 49ers finally got probably the best left tackle in the game back in the facility practicing once again?
I think it's big. And I think that it could pose a little bit of problem for them because he's been holding out now for the whole preseason and the whole training camp. He hasn't played a snap. And, he is a veteran, and he's been an all-pro the last 3 years. So he knows what he's doing out there, but he could be a little rusty. He might be. I wonder if he's in his best playing shape. He hasn't played any contact football now since last year. He suffered $5 million worth of fines in order to and missed 3 preseason games in order to increase his pay by, he was making $23 million on average before. Now it's up to 27.6. So that's about $4.6 million. He about broke even on his fines. He's able to pay his fines off with his pay raise for year one. So I don't know. Did he pick up that much in this deal? I guess he had no guaranteed money, and it all had run out in his 6-year deal, his current 6-year deal, which was for $138 million, which he signed back in 2021. So he gives himself some protection there by getting $48 million guaranteed. So I'm sure he's happy about that. And he winds up with $7 million more this year. I guess you mentioned that. So $7 million more, $5 million in fines. He nets $2 million. I don't know what they do about those fines. Maybe they found some way. I don't think they can waive them when he's on this kind of a contract. That can only happen in a rookie contract. So I think he probably winds up having to pay those. But I guess it was worth it to get $48 million guaranteed when he didn't have any, and change his deal around. So in now 3 years and $83 million, that's good money. And I think he deserved it. I mean, he was the richest player at his position up until this year when Tristan Wirfs and Penei Sewell and Christian Dowrisaw got deals that averaged $26 million a year. So he fell behind those guys. And you look at the way the 49ers play when he's in there, particularly Brock Purdy, which I think you have some stats that you're going to show us that you don't have to show me when you get your sure. Take up there. Yeah, no, that's fine. I saw them. I think that you speak to them better than I will. So, he does play better. Brock Purdy plays better when Trent Williams is in there. And I think the biggest thing is now the 49ers have all the players that took them to the Super Bowl last year, except for a backup tight end, Charlie Warner, and a wide receiver number 4, Ray McLeod. So I think this is their year. They got to do it this year, I think, because they got more contract issues next year. Brock Purdy will be needing a big contract, and his first number will be a 6 probably. So it'll be over $60 million for him. They're going to have to find a way to afford that. That's going to cost them some of their other talents. So to me, with all the guys that they had last year, and given they made it to the Super Bowl and should have won the game, I think they're in pretty good shape. They should be in good shape.
Well, I think when you're the 49ers, you're always in good shape. The amount of talent you have, the receiving core you have Christian McCaffrey. Unfortunately, Elijah Mitchell is dealing with an injury, but this team is the deepest. It is probably the best, whether it be top at the very, very top or even at its depths. Defensively, it's also incredible. But this is a massive deal. I know we talk about Christian McCaffrey as the MVP of the team, but when it comes to Trent Williams' impact on this team, it cannot be understated. I think because offensive linemen don't really have any statistical categories they could put in a box score besides maybe sacks given up, and if you do more advanced statistics, you could do pressures allowed and whatnot. But when it comes to the legitimate impact of the players around him because of the offensive line, that's really, you can't put those numbers up in a box score. You can't put it on a stat sheet. But Trent Williams has a massive impact on a very young quarterback who's making sub $1 million. I think really he is the MVP of this team because his production when it comes to protecting Brock Purdy and opening up running lanes for Christian McCaffrey, who honestly takes a massive hit if Trent Williams is not out there. But the biggest downfall is the guy who might be making $65 million within the next couple years, and that's Brock Purdy. So in 2023, in weeks where Trent Williams either got injured or did not play 50% of the snaps, the difference is insane. Take a look at these numbers real quick, with and without Trent Williams. It's stunning. Brock Purdy's undefeated when Trent Williams either does not get injured or plays over 50% of the snaps. He is winless on the other side of that. And the downfall is shocking. 72% completion percentage to 60.8. 12% drop-off. Passing yards a game go down basically 20. Touchdowns to interceptions. 28 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns without. 2 interceptions with, 9 picks without. Passer rating drops down almost 70 points. Like, the difference when Trent Williams is out there and the impact it has on Brock Purdy is monumental. So I think really the MVP of this team is Trent Williams. So I think that it was crucial that they got this deal done. But when it comes down to, let's expand it a little bit, because it is a decent sum of money. It's a very, very large sum of money for a guy who's 35 years old. And the fact that, San Francisco was able to get him for 3rd and 5th round picks from Washington just shows that his talent was really being wasted, and Washington just completely sold the bag. He's an 11-time Pro Bowler, which is incredible. They just signed Ayuk to a pretty big deal, $30 million a year. So I think when it comes down to, and like I said, let's expand it a little bit. You're going to be paying a lot of guys very soon. You gave Nick Bosa a big contract, Deebo Samuel a big contract, although he might be gone next year. You just gave Ayuk a contract, and you just finished up giving Trent Williams a contract. The window to win a Super Bowl has to be now. There is no excuse anymore, barring any massive injury. There is no reason why this team consistently falls at the feet of whoever they're playing in the Super Bowl, which unfortunately it's been the Chiefs twice. But the upsets and the disappointments year after year coming from Kyle Shanahan's team. I mean, how many do-overs are they going to get? The cap keeps going up. Things are getting more expensive. Purdy's probably going to set the quarterback market in a year or two.
The pressure is on the coach for sure. I think this is his year. He's really got to get it done, and I'm sure they're disappointed from last year when they had the lead twice at the end and couldn't, and the defense couldn't hold Kansas City. It's got to be. They still got to remember that this is going to be in there. A bad taste in their mouth, and particularly in Shanahan's, because he's had no success in the Super Bowl. He hasn't won one yet, and he's been there multiple times now. So he's been there 3 times, right? He was there with Atlanta. Yep. He was there twice with San Francisco, and he hasn't gotten it done. So he wasn't the head coach at Atlanta, but he was the OC, and some of the calls in that game they're still being talked about. So we'll see. I think this is they got all the players back, and they seem like they're in a good mindset. Even Brandon Ayuk with his new $30 million contract for this year and $120 million for 4 years. It's a lot for him, I think, personally.
Absolutely.
So hopefully it works out. I mean, to think that they might lose Deebo next year because of all the contract for Brock Purdy, and think that they gave Ayuk a big contract and lose Deebo Samuels, that to me is a little hard, a little bit of a head scratcher. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, if you're going to get back $9 million, you got to pay a guy $65 million or more. You're kind of like, okay, well, what has Deebo done? Ayuk is his favorite receiver anyway. We still got Kittle. We just signed Trent Williams to a 3-year deal. So you got to think about that. But it's getting very, very expensive nowadays. But fortunately for these owners, the amount of money the NFL is making on an annual basis is ridiculous. The carryovers, like they increased the salary cap by tens of millions of dollars this year because of the media deals and the return on their investment when it comes to that. But
they got to watch out. I mean, the price of a ticket's gone way up. I mean, for us to go to a game, it's very expensive. And
everybody's good.
You wind up these games, the number of commercials on them is getting a little outrageous too. So
that's how the NFL's making their money. Selling their ads.
I know, but you got to watch out. You don't overkill that.
I don't know. The NFL's a massive product. The amount of controversy that's been in the NFL, I don't think a 30-second commercial is going to really kill it. But you know what? We're going to see.
Well, and there's one every minute and a half, then maybe.
Well, baseball does that because it's so slow. You get so many commercials.
Well, baseball, at least in a baseball game, at least you get to see the whole inning before there's a commercial, at least a half inning. They don't do commercials every half inning. They don't do it in the middle of an inning.
That's true.
Unless they change pitchers.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But yeah, no, this is a massive move for the 49ers. Trent Williams signed 3 years, $82.66 million, and $48 million guaranteed. They play Monday night. This is the big thing, though. Monday night looked like Trent Williams would have, held out for the rest of until he got the contract. So being able to go up against that Jets defense and have Trent Williams in there, Brock Purdy should feel at least a little bit more secure behind that offensive line that down the stretch didn't look too good. Let's get into the second guy that we're going to talk about, which is Ja'Marr Chase, because he's still holding in. But it looks like, according to reports, that the Bengals have intensified their efforts to sign Chase in recent days. Now, we heard through the grapevine that Chase is looking to get even a penny, but more, over Justin Jefferson's contract, which is $35 million annually, which is absolutely crazy. Now, the strange thing about this is that Ja'Marr Chase is holding in a little bit early. He's still got 2 more years left, and including that 5th-year option as well. But it looks like, and Albert Breer said this, and I want to quote this. Earlier in the summer, I sensed some frustration from Cincinnati. The team wanted to negotiate and get something done with Chase, but his camp was moving slowly, if at all, on playing their part in it. So according to Albert Breer, Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, it seems like Ja'Marr Chase is the issue and not the Bengals, which is quite interesting. Yeah. But I don't know. Do you think the Bengals should begin to worry about Ja'Marr Chase potentially being out there, or rather not being out there, week 1 against the New England Patriots?
I think they should be worried if he wants Justin Jefferson money. I mean, that's $35 million a year. Now, I don't know how many years they would give that to him for. I guess he would expect at least 4 years, right? So that's huge. That would make him the highest paid receiver, tied with Jefferson in the NFL and in NFL history. And is he really worth that much? I don't think I wouldn't put him in the. He's a very good receiver, and he's in the top 10 or so, I think. But is he close to number 1? I'm not so sure. I think
really.
I think that I don't think he. I think he should be happy with something a little over Ayuk's number, maybe 32, something like that.
So 32 will put him at A.J. Brown level.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good.
You think
he's
at A.J. Brown level?
That's pretty good company to be in. I'm not so sure he's totally in that company either. I mean, he's not as big a receiver as A.J. Brown. He's faster, probably. But, the Bengals have had problems with both their wide receivers now. T. Higgins, they had a bunch of trouble with.
Yeah.
Right? He wouldn't take the franchise tag, and then he would, and then he wouldn't. And
asked for a trade.
He's asked for a trade. He's probably pissed at seeing this all unfold, and maybe Ja'Marr Chase being the highest paid receiver in the NFL. I don't think that was going to rub too well with him. So they've got that to consider too. And the criticism out there, shouldn't the Bengals have anticipated this? They did. They wanted to negotiate with Chase earlier this summer, but as you said, his agents were moving slowly, dragging their feet. They waited, they were waiting to see what the others received, and that was known quite a while ago. We know what Jefferson, if they thought Jefferson was the benchmark for them, we've known what his contract was going to be for several months now, and so they wanted to get on top of that, and I don't know. They're pretty late in the game now. The season begins for the Bengals on Sunday against the Patriots. So, the top 5 of the market's been set, for some time now. And Ayuk got his deal, and that kind of ended it, I thought. And now he knows where everybody else is. The Bengals want to get a deal done, and so it's really up to him. The ball is in his court. And I think the Bengals looked like they were ready to ride with Chase for the long term over T. Higgins, given what happened with T. Higgins. They were, I think they were leaning towards Chase, and they still seem to be. His current contract is the 4-year rookie contract. It's $30.8 million with $19.8 million signing bonus, $30.8 million of that guaranteed. The base this year is a little over $1 million. A roster bonus, $3.8 million. A cap hit is $9.8 million, and the dead money is $31.6. So they definitely want to get a deal with him done, but they don't want to trade him.
I would not trade him for the life of me. Joe Burrow. I'll say this: Joe Burrow has not performed poorly without Ja'Marr Chase. I think that's the only positive thing to come out of this is that Joe Burrow, over the course of his career, actually does not do that poorly without Ja'Marr Chase. But I do think that this needs to get done. I think it will get done. because I do not think that the Bengals would trade Chase. I don't think they'll release. There's not there. I don't see any scenario unless they get 5 or 6 first-round picks for Jamar Chase, where Chase is no longer on the Bengals in any capacity anytime soon. But it does look like that the Bengals are open to at least giving Jamar Chase the money he's looking for. The big question mark is the guaranteed money. So if that's the only question mark, then it's kind of like the recent news we heard about Dak Prescott. They're willing to pay him the money, just about the time. And in this case, we're willing to give you more than 35, on average per year, $35 million on average per year. But it just comes down to the guaranteed money. Justin Jefferson got $88 million in guaranteed money. CeeDee Lamb, I think, got $100 to $110 million in guarantees. He's making $34 million per season on average. I do think Jamar Chase is within the $33 to $36 million. I'm not saying that he's going to break the market at $40 million per year because that would be ridiculous. But I do think based on his production, based on his value on a team, the Bengals, who in the large, big picture of it all, have not had much success, especially recently, unfortunately, with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has been there for a number of years now. Yes, he did get hurt, and he keeps repeatedly getting hurt, which is obviously a massive problem. But I think that in the big picture, they need everybody. T. Higgins requested for a trade twice. Trey Hendrickson, they're all pro, all stud defensive player, defensive end, edge rusher, whatever you want to call him. He's also out there requesting a trade because he's upset with his contract. And the Bengals notoriously do not pay their top guys. They don't pay anybody. They try not to set the market. A lot of these teams don't. But I think if we're looking at Ayuk, and Ayuk's $30 million per year, Jamar Chase is hands down more impactful, more valuable than Brandon Ayuk. I think when it comes to Tyreek Hill, he negotiated his trade and he restructured it. It was $30 million. It's still $30 million a year, but the way it was structured, it was, I think, around $27 per year. But he restructured, now it's $30 million. CeeDee Lamb, $34. A.J. Brown, $32. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe, is $30. A bunch of guys at these $30 million ranges. And Jamar Chase is out here having 2 remaining years to negotiate this deal, and he's sitting there like, I want my money now, which is an interesting tactic. It's a tactic actually Micah Parsons could also deploy, especially in this upcoming offseason. So I think that the Bengals should worry because there's really no indication besides Jamar Chase showing up in casual clothing to practice. That's really all we got. There's not much practice. And yes, he did do some light practice earlier this week. But when it comes down to it, I think that I would be a little bit worried. Now, Zach Taylor keeps getting asked about this, and he does say that, and he obviously says that they have backup plans if Chase can't go. But against the Patriots, I think the defense that the Patriots have, although they did just lose Matt Judon to the Falcons, I think that this might be one of the better weeks if you were to have a contract situation and a player potentially holding out, or holding in, whatever you want to call it at this point. I think this is one of the better weeks because the Patriots are so poor that his impact may not, the loss of him, that impact of that decision may not be as massive, if you're playing the Bills, Dolphins, Chiefs, any one of the big-time teams in the NFL, the impact would not be the same because you're playing a god-awful team in New England.
Yeah, they're playing at home as well, and New England on the road with a brand-new coaching staff and brand-new quarterback who is a journeyman. And the wide receiver core that is still questionable, and an offensive line that doesn't seem to be any better than last year's when it was terrible. Right. So I don't think the Bengals have a lot to worry about on Sunday, whether Jamar Chase is in there or not. But we'll see.
I think when it comes down to it, I do think it is funny. It does look like the Bengals are setting up to get to let go of T. Higgins in that spot. Say, you know what, we'll keep Jamar Chase around. I do think that's interesting that they're not immediately going out and giving T. Higgins an extension and then dealing with Jamar Chase later. They're saying, okay, we're willing to negotiate with Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, we're just going to keep franchise tagging you. They already let Tyler Boyd go. So I think that this offense, I really think that this is probably the most important year for the Cincinnati Bengals because of the amount of money that they're going to be spending soon. Well, this is probably their best offensive line they had, but their defense is not that great.
I think one thing they'll succeed in doing is pissing off T. Higgins in this whole scenario. Maybe Jamar Chase will wind up happy in the end, but T. Higgins is going to be angry, and this is probably his last year with the Bengals, and we'll see how he plays. If he's feeling like he's not been treated fairly.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Week 1. Sunday at 1 p.m. on CBS. Patriots at Bengals. Bengals are, this opened at 8.5, by the way. Now it's 9.5 point favorites. So the Jamar Chase thing has done nothing. basically. Actually, I don't know if it's because of Jamar Chase, but the points spread moved even more in favor of the Bengals. By the way, all odds are by FanDuel as well.
That doesn't help his contract situation any. They have the bettors say it doesn't matter whether he's in there or not.
I'm sure if it gets close to week 1, that the point spread will move a little bit. But let's get into our next topic. We're not going to go to break right now. Let's get into our next topic here. So week 1, Thursday night football, Ravens Chiefs. This is going to be a hell of a matchup right now. But Lamar Jackson was recently asked about his relationship with Mahomes, where he said he doesn't have a relationship with him or any other quarterback. And he was also asked if this was a revenge game because the last time we saw the Baltimore Ravens, they were getting butt-whooped by the Kansas City Chiefs, and Lamar did not look that great. But take a listen to his answer when asked if this game against Mahomes and the Chiefs was considered a revenge game for him.
I'm approaching like any other game, but it's the start of the season, so we got to make a great impression for the first game of the season.
When you say you're approaching like any other game, revenge won't be on your mind at all. I'm sure it'll be on the Ravens' flock's mind.
Any game I play, and I feel like it's a revenge game, so I'm not just going to look at this game like a revenge game. Anybody we play, no matter if we beat them or lost to them previous years, I just want to win.
So I want to know, do you? First of all, the lower third is wrong, so I'm just gonna take that off for a second. Do you expect the Ravens to come out on top? I want to get your prediction later, but most importantly, I want to know, who do you think the pressure's on? Is it on Lamar and the Ravens or on Kansas City to come back? Because this is their ring day, by the way. They're getting their rings, in this game.
Yeah.
So do you think the pressure is mounting on Lamar Jackson, or do you think Mahomes has something to prove against the team that he beat last time, but shouldn't have gone that way? That's what people are still asking. What do you think?
I think there's more pressure on the Ravens. They're going to be playing at the Chiefs. That's a tough place to play, man. That's a loud stadium. Their fans are really into it, and it's the first game of the season. Also, the Chiefs, they lost last year in the opener to the Lions. They don't want that to happen again. So they've gone out and gotten more wide receiver talent. They've traded for Hollywood Brown. They picked up Xavier Worthy in the draft, and he's looked very good in the preseason. The Ravens were the number 1 seed last year. Mahomes and Jackson have played each other 4 times now, including the playoffs. The Chiefs are 3-1. The only loss they had was a 36-35 game, 1-point game back in 2021. That was a while ago. The road to the Super Bowl, I think, goes through Kansas City this year. Jackson struggled in the AFC Championship game. He only had a 54% completion percentage. They should have run the ball more. We've talked a lot about this. We think that the offensive coordinator made a mistake there trying to pass the ball a lot. They had success with their passing game, but the Chiefs were expecting that, and they defended it well. They should have made an adjustment and gone more to the run. He also had an interception that game. It was critical right near the end, right down near the goal line. So it was a tough game for Lamar. I think he's probably learned a lot from that game, and I think he's going to be more focused this year. But the Chiefs look like they were better on paper this year than they were last year. They have Worthy. He can stretch the field. He's going to give more room underneath for Kelsey and Rice, and I think they'll exploit that. The Chiefs can manage the clock with Pacheco and using those drag routes that I just mentioned. September is a dominant month for the Chiefs. They're 16-4 in their last 20 games. The weather looks like it might put a little damper on the passing game, maybe a 55% chance of rain at 7 p.m. And Hollywood Brown is going to be out with a sternoclavicle joint dislocation that he suffered in the preseason. That sounds very serious, but I think he's only out 1 week. Worthy says he feels real comfortable in understanding the system and its nuances. He says he's not nervous, but he's ready. In college, he had 197 receptions, almost 3,000 yards for 26 TDs. So he looks like he's going to be an exciting talent.
Well, I think one of the most important things when it comes to this Ravens team is the loss on defense. How are they going to look with some of their massive losses on defense, right? You lost Patrick Queen, Geno Stone, Jadeveon Clowney. You also lost your defensive coordinator in Mike McDonald going over to the Seattle Seahawks to be their head coach. But what I also think is quite interesting, and I want to get your take on this. So, in history, let's go back to 2012. Since 2012, the teams that lost the season opener versus teams that you lost to in the playoffs. So this would be one of the scenarios. Ravens lost in the playoffs to the Kansas City Chiefs and then are going to play them in the season opener. check this out. I want to get your reaction to this stat. The records, the outcomes, they're not great. One playoff team since 2012. Mostly losing records. You got a 500 record in there. You even got a tie from the 2013 Packers. These teams don't perform very well if they lose this game. So my big thing is this is a must-win. The Ravens have to win this game because if they don't, it's not going to be a good start. You need to get that ugly taste out of your mouth. But let's be honest here. Not only are the losses on defense, offensive line-wise, you lost Morgan Moses, starting tackle. You lost your starting offensive guard and John Simpson, both going to the Jets. The offensive line could be a massive problem because you have a brand new left guard, and right tackle. A bunch of brand new pieces around. Not great. Not great at all. But however, they drafted Nate Higgins. Pretty good pickup. He was tearing it up in the preseason. You added Derrick Henry. Yeah, remember him? Yeah, he's going to be dominant, I think. But my only concern with Derrick Henry is taking carries away from each other, him and Lamar Jackson. Because Lamar works his best when he is that true dual threat. Mark Andrews is back. He got into, I think, a car accident recently. He looks like he's back and good. Zay Flowers, another year under this system with Todd Monken. He made a couple rookie mistakes in crucial spots, especially in the playoff game, diving for the goal line, and I think Snead knocked it out at the goal line, which is pretty big. And speaking about that, on the other side, the Chiefs lost to L'Jarius Snead. That could be a pretty big loss, although your front seven's still great. You still got a pretty decent secondary. Trent McDuffie is still pretty good. You added Hollywood Brown, although he'll probably be out this first game. My big pick that I was really harking on when we did our draft analysis for this upcoming season was I said the Chiefs should draft Xavier Worthy. Excuse me. And what did they do? They went out and drafted Xavier Worthy, trading up with the Buffalo Bills, which, again, Buffalo Bills and the Chiefs. How about the Bills stop giving the Chiefs the win there? And let's not, sugarcoat this at all. The Chiefs have a great offensive line, except for the two tackles. The two tackles could be a massive issue if the Ravens' top 5 defensive front can start pressuring Mahomes, although Mahomes, for some reason, it's crazy to look, he never goes down for whatever reason. The Baltimore Ravens have Lamar Jackson. He's now a one-time unanimous MVP and a second-time MVP, which he was one vote off of being the two-time unanimous MVP. The other first-place vote went to go over to Josh Allen. But he, in this system, was a much more effective and efficient passer. I think that's something that we really haven't seen from Lamar since last season because Greg Roman decided he'd like to use Lamar's athletic ability more than have him sit in the pocket. I think, based on this, and here's my pick. I'm going to give my pick right now. I think if Todd Monken learned his lesson, and this Chiefs defense, which is basically the same, not many massive moving pieces, this defense, unless Steve Spagnuolo decided to, let's switch it up, let's focus more, less on the pass and more on the run, the Chiefs were one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL last season, rushing defense in the NFL last season. Now you added Derrick Henry instead of Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. That's an upgrade. Todd Monken needs to learn his lesson from the AFC Championship game. Yes, you want Lamar to be a more effective passer. But when it comes down to it, play to your strengths. Run the damn ball. Ravens, and by the way, I just want to throw this out here. I've been 3-0 in the past 3 years in my Thursday night picks. My week 1 opening day picks, I've been 3-0. The Bucs over the Cowboys, Bills over the Rams, and Lions over the Chiefs last season. This is a must-win for the Baltimore Ravens. Because just like history said, let's bring it up one more time. History says, chances are you're not going to do that great. And also, the Ravens' schedule is pretty hard. My pick, Ravens 27, Chiefs 24, Ravens upset the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1.
And my pick is the Chiefs win 23-17.
I think that's a safe pick. A lot of people are picking that. I think if the Ravens need to stick to their game plan, you have Derrick Henry, you have Lamar Jackson, you have Zay Flowers, you have Mark Andrews. Run the football.
I think the Ravens, as you said, they lost a lot of pieces on defense. They made a lot of changes on offense. It's a lot of changes to go up against in your first game. I could see maybe facing the Chiefs in week 6. And when you've got everything all smoothed out and the chemistry is back and everyone knows what everyone else is doing, but to go in there the first game of the season, to go to Arrowhead against the Chiefs, who have almost all their players back, and Mahomes, a 2-time MVP winner, And Jackson, also a 2-time MVP winner. It's a big game. It's a marquee game. It's going to have millions. It's going to be a very highly watched game. I just see the Chiefs winning this game. I had a couple more comments on a couple of the 3 Chiefs that need to do something this year to make sure they hang in there with the team. Sky Moore, he was the 2022 second-round pick for them, and now he's relegated to be the backup kick returner behind Hardman. His career yards, about 500, 1 TD. Mahomes' passer rating when throwing to him is only 50.8. Rice wound up outplaying him last year and took a lot of snaps away from him. And they've also picked up Juju Smith-Schuster. So what does that say about their confidence in Sky Moore? So he's got to do something this year, or I'd say he's going to be gone. Felix Azuma, a defensive end. He was their 2023 first-round pick. He only played 20% of the defensive snaps last year. He'll pay more with this Umanio is recovering from a torn ACL. So we'll see whether he can get in there for more snaps. But the Chiefs went out and picked up Cam Thomas, acquired to bolster the defensive line. So I'm not sure whether Felix Azuma is going to get many snaps, and maybe he looks like a bust and a first-round pick in 2023. And finally, Jalen Watson. He looks like the starter to replace Janarius Sneed, who was a big loss, wound up going to the Eagles. Watson was a 7th-round 2022 pick. He when he was in there last year, he only allowed completion percentage of 53.3%, which is very good when targeted. He got more snaps as the season went on, and he played a lot in the postseason. So we'll see if he can step into Snead's shoes and retain and hang on to that starting job. And finally, Hilaire, their backup running back, is out for the first 4 games with a mental issue, with PTSD. So he's not going to be there. I think he's generally quite a good running back. In most teams, he'd be the starter. So Pacheco has to have some relief sometime in the game, and it won't be Hilaire for at least the first 4 games.
Well, I think they'll probably get somebody, and that's why they're going out and looking, and they were talking to a bunch of players because of Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's situation. So I think when it comes down to it, it's going to be a great game. Great way to start off Week 1, an AFC Championship game rematch between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs favored by -3 points. A quick recap on our picks. It's me, Ravens, 27-24. Stephen Harvey over there, 23-17. Chiefs over the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going with my history. Picking right, 3-0. Feel good about it. That's the first pick of the 2024-25 season coming from the Harvey Hour. But coming up, we're going to actually give our playoff predictions, playoff picks, and our Super Bowl winner for this season. The first time we're ever doing it on the show, we're making a Super Bowl prediction before Week 1. Make sure you stay tuned because that's coming up right after this.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It is absolutely great to have you in today. It's a special day. Week 1 is approaching quickly. This is the first show breaking down Week 1 and also making our predictions. The final day of Prediction Day. We did our AFC, NFC predictions last week. We are now doing our playoff picks and our Super Bowl picks today. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. As always, great to have you on the show today for this brand new NFL year. But let's get into our NFL picks. This is massive. Playoff picks. We do this a lot. We like to pick games around here. This is something that we love to do. We're going to do this AFC, NFC. I'll start, then I'll hand it over to you. And also a little bit later, special guest coming up. First time he's on the show. It's going to be great to have him on. But let's jump in with the picks. I'll go first, as always. My AFC. So this is how it breaks out. I have the Chiefs as the 1 seed, Ravens as the 2 seed, Jets 3 seed, Texans 4 seed, Bills 5 seed, Bengals 6 seed, Chargers 7 seed. I do not have the Dolphins in. I do not have any team. I think my bracket's pretty good. And on the NFC side, 49ers are the 1 seed, Lions are the 2 seed, 3 of the Eagles, 4 Falcons, 5 Packers, 6 Cowboys, 7 Rams. Again, don't have the Seahawks. Don't have the Commanders like some people. Don't have the Chicago Bears. Don't have anybody like that. So let's jump into it. So for me, I'm looking at the Bills and the Texans. This is going to be Stephon Diggs' revenge game against his former team, who, by the way, came out recently and said that he was at his worst mental space last year with the Buffalo Bills. That kind of showed back half of the season. Also, what the rumors said about him in the offseason. That's why he kind of had to get the hell out of there. And we saw even before last season how he was really arguing with Josh Allen on the sideline. Not a great look for them. But I actually believe the Texans will get the win over here as the 4 seed and send Josh Allen packing. I have them beating the Buffalo Bills. Now, Jets-Bengals. This is going to be a pretty interesting game. Bengals are the 6 seed, Jets are the 3 seed. I do think the Jets will win the AFC East. I think the Bills obviously will come in second place in that division. But this Jets team, yes, while it's great, you have Aaron Rodgers, who in the past few playoff series that he's been in, is 8-9 in the playoffs since that last Super Bowl win, all the way back in, I think, 2011 or 2012. It's been a very, very long time for the Green Bay Packers, for Aaron Rodgers, since he was actually good in the playoffs. And the last time we saw him, he lost to the Detroit Lions and played poorly. He needs Devontae Adams. But this season, he has Breece Hall, he has Garrett Wilson, a reinforced offensive line, and a great defense. But he's going up against Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, who I think will have a great year. Who I think once Jamar Chase settles down, I think it'll be a very efficient year. Because, yes, I'm a little bit nervous about the defense, but I think when it comes down to it, we saw Joe Burrow go up against some of the best defenses with the poorest offensive line in the league. Joe Burrow arguably has the best offensive line he's ever had since coming into the NFL. I'll go upset alert here. Bengals beat the New York Jets. Finally, Chargers and Ravens. Chargers are not built right now to win a playoff game. Poor wide receiver group. Tight end is not that great. You have a running back situation with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Not that great. Offensive line is decent, but not great. You have Rashawn Slater. Your defense, I think, will get you to this playoff spot and the 7th seed. But when it comes down to going up against Lamar Jackson, who I think might have something to prove this season, I'm saying the Ravens will beat the Chargers and end up going to the divisional round. Let's go to the next one. Let's stick in the AFC. AFC divisional winners here. We have a nice rematch. Joe Burrow going over to Burrowhead in Kansas City. I'm saying Joe Burrow historically is really the only quarterback besides Tom Brady to give Mahomes some trouble in the playoffs. That continues. Joe Burrow upset win over Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to move on to another AFC championship game. How about the Texans and the Ravens? I think once again, based on the way history says it, based on Lamar Jackson's play in the playoffs, history says at some point he'll run into a brick wall. That brick wall it just ends up being DeMeco Ryans, that growing defense, which keeps adding a bunch of great pieces, and CJ Stroud, the most exciting player right now in the NFL, with a reinforced wide receiver core and running back group, and a growing offensive line as well. I will take another upset. Houston Texans beat out the Baltimore Ravens to move on to the AFC Championship game, where it comes down to the 6th seed and the 4th seed. The Bengals at the Texans. I'm going to give this pick a little bit later because let's move over to the NFC side. Don't want to give away my Super Bowl pick quite yet for the AFC. Let's go over to the NFC side. Packers, Falcons. Falcons are going to be the 4th seed. They're going to be the worst team amongst the division leaders, I'm sure. going up against Green Bay, the youngest team in the NFL. Jordan Love, the last time we saw him, he was tearing it up. Last 10 games, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, if not the best quarterback in the NFL. He also can handle pressure very, very well. I'll get the Packers with the upset over Kirk Cousins, who in the playoffs, last time we saw him in the playoffs, he lost to Daniel Jones. Yikes. All right, let's go to the next one. Cowboys at Eagles, the three seed Eagles up against the 6 seed Cowboys. And once again, history will repeat itself. Cowboys lose again in the playoffs. Dak Prescott drops down to 2-6 in the playoffs. I got the Eagles beating the Dallas Cowboys. And finally, the Los Angeles Rams, the 7 seed, up against the Detroit Lions. Another repeat of last year. And I think it'll repeat again like it did last year. Lions have the best offensive line in the NFL. Their wide receiver core is still great. Arguably a top 2-3 tight end in Sam Laporta. Defense is improving. I will take the Lions to beat the Rams to move on to the divisional round. Now, this looks pretty similar because we have the same matchup. Packers 49ers up against the Eagles and the Lions on the other side. So when it comes to the Packers, will they get the revenge on Brock Purdy? They were this close to beating Brock Purdy last time. And unfortunately, just for the sake of the storyline, I'm saying the Packers do not get the win here. Jordan Love does fall to the 49ers again, and Brock Purdy's incredible play in the playoffs, incredible play all around. Once again, albeit any injury could happen. But when it comes down to it, if everybody's healthy, the 49ers are one of, if not the best team in the NFL. I will take the 49ers to beat out the Packers to move on to another NFC Championship game. Let's go over to the Eagles and Lions. When will the Eagles hit the wall that has always been waiting for them? We saw last year they crumbled. The Detroit Lions just got to their first NFC Championship game in basically, 50 years, something like that, 30 years, several decades. They won their first playoff game in like 3 decades. And I think the Lions will continue their streak here. I think the Lions are going to be, when it matters the most, the Eagles' defense can get got, and they've been getting got recently. Now, and we have more coaching moves, a brand new DC. Offensive coordinator is brand new as well. Nick Sirianni on the hot seat. And I think Dan Campbell will learn from some of his late game triad heroics of gambling a little bit too much. Lions beat the Eagles, go over to a back-to-back NFC Championship game. Now, my Super Bowl pick. Let's start with the AFC. I'm taking the quarterback here. What quarterback is better? I'm going for the AFC side. I think Joe Burrow right now, healthy, is better than CJ Stroud. I will take the Bengals with Joe Burrow putting up like 375 yards and 3 touchdowns to beat out the Houston Texans. I just think he'll be able to get it done. He's Joe Cool. Bengals make it to another Super Bowl. And finally, Lions 49ers. A revenge game. The Lions were up by 17 points entering the second half the last time these two teams played. And I think the Lions will get their revenge on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm having them make it to, I think, their first Super Bowl in their franchise's history. Bengals, Lions, Super Bowl. I'm picking the Lions. They win their first Super Bowl in their franchise's history. Aiden Hutchinson is an absolute monster. In 2023, he had double-digit sacks, number 1 in quarterback hits, number 2 in quarterback hurries. He was number 2 in total pressures. I mean, he's an absolute monster. The only problem with the Lions is they couldn't get a lot of guys on the ground. That was their big problem. Now they reinforced their defensive secondary. They drafted Terry and Arnold and also acquired Carlton Davis over from the Buccaneers. They also added DJ Reader, who was probably one of the Bengals' 1 or 2 best pass rushers on that defensive front. The Lions have the best offensive line in the NFL, and Goff thrives with a clean pocket. When he's under pressure, he changes into a completely different quarterback. But this team was up 17 points against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, and Dan gambled a little too much. But this time, he's going to thrive. He's going to make the right decision. They have arguably one of the best 1-2 punches when it comes to running back room in the NFL with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Yes, David Montgomery can get clowned on because of your fantasy team when he was with the Chicago Bears. How about look at the production he's had on the Detroit Lions with a relatively stable organization. So I'm going with the Lions here. 1-2 combo. By the way, that 1-2 combo combined for 2,393 yards from scrimmage and 24 touchdowns. That's pretty damn good. Lions. Super Bowl 59 winners. They're first in their franchise history. That's my pick. I'll even give a score. 28-25, Lions win. That's my pick.
Wow, that's pretty bold.
We're doing bold topics around here.
It's possible. It's possible. I think that you mentioned Dan Gamble a number of times in here, and I do think that he would play a significant role in whether they win or lose. Hopefully he won't snatch defeat from the jaws of victory with some of his gambles on fourth down. If they do get to the Super Bowl.
I'm hoping he doesn't do red zone, go for it on like the 7-yard line when he doesn't need to.
I know.
And like in the 49ers game, it was just about you had a 17-point lead. Just get points. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And he took 1 or 2 gambles he didn't have to.
2.
Yeah, and he ended up losing.
Both
it was very, very unfortunate. All right, it's your turn. This is the first time we're ever doing this. So take your shot. Here's your bracket.
Okay, so I have the seeding, the 49ers 1, the Lions 2, the Eagles 3, the Falcons 4, the Cowboys 5, the Packers 6, and the Buccaneers 7. On the AFC side, I have the Chiefs 1, I have the Ravens 2, I have the Texans 3, I have the Jets 4, I have the Bengals 5, I have the Dolphins 6, and the Chargers 7. And starting with the NFC, since you started with the AFC, I have the Cowboys against the Falcons. I have the Cowboys winning that game. I think that Dak Prescott will at least get through the first round this time around. And Mike McCarthy also will come up with a game plan that will be at least good enough to beat the Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to be making the playoffs. They'll be happy that they got there since it's been a dog's age since they've been in the playoffs. And Kirk Cousins is going to make the game competitive, but I don't think that they will. They'll have enough to beat the Cowboys with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, who will come up. They won't have to come up much bigger to be better than they were last year in their first-round loss to the Packers. But I do think they've learned from that, and they will get through the first round. I do think that the Green Bay Packers are going to beat the Eagles. I think that the Eagles will win the division, but I do think that the Packers have something special this year, and with Jordan Love really starting out hot and being hot all through the year, the wide receiver core having another year under their belt, did very well last year. I really think they're going to have a potent offense. I think the Eagles will have a better year than last year. I do think that Saquon Barkley is a big pickup for them, and I do think he'll be a difference maker for them on offense. But I don't think they're going to get by Green Bay in the playoffs. The Buccaneers and the Lions, the Buccaneers sneak in here. I don't think they're going to have enough to beat Dan Gamble and the Lions. I do like that the Buccaneers re-signed Mike Evans and that they made a deal with Baker Mayfield. Both those guys working together were pretty lethal last year, but I don't think they've got enough to beat Jared Goff and his weapons that he has on offense, particularly in the running game. They got a couple of good young running backs there. They signed their wide receiver to a big deal. So I like the Lions to beat the Packers. To beat the Buccaneers. And then in the next round, Green Bay is going to go up against San Francisco. I'm afraid that's going to be a little too much for them again. As you picked Green Bay, they can't get by San Francisco. San Francisco on a mission, I think, this year after what happened to them last year. They learned from that. Brock Purdy another year under his belt. They've re-signed all their players, as we just mentioned. They got Trent Williams in the fold today, and I think that's going to be enough for them to beat Green Bay. Dallas, I don't think they get by the Lions in the second round. I think the Lions are on a mission as well. They want to get back to the championship game, and they want to try to get to a Super Bowl, which would be their first Super Bowl in their franchise history. So I do think that they knock off the Cowboys. And then in the championship game, it's Lions, San Francisco, a repeat of last year. I'm afraid I'm probably going to upset your apple cart here, Nate, by picking the San Francisco 49ers to beat the Lions in the NFC a championship game. As I mentioned, I think the 49ers are on a mission. They brought back all their players, a couple of second stringers and fourth stringer actually that are not with the team this year. But who cares? They've got all their skill players back. They got Trent Williams signed. They got that defense, which was pretty awesome last year. So I think they're going to beat the Lions and get to the Super Bowl. And then on the AFC side, I mentioned the seeding. The Bengals against the Jets. You have the Bengals going all the way to the Super Bowl. I have them getting knocked out by the Jets in the first round. I think the Jets. This could be a wrong pick given how the Jets play, and just getting to the playoffs for them will be a big win this year. But they do have a good team. You got to look at the talent that they've assembled. Their defense has been good now for several years, and their offense has only lacked really the quarterback position. And I think that they've certainly upgraded that with Aaron Rodgers. The question is, can he stay healthy, and will that Achilles injury be his Achilles heel? I don't think so. I think the Jets will at least make it through the first round there. The Dolphins and the Texans. It looks like if either one of these situations, the Dolphins will be at the Texans. The Texans, it's going to be a warm game. It's not going to be freezing cold. So maybe Tua can play better, but I don't think he'll play well enough to beat C.J. Stroud and the Texans, who really have upgraded their team some more. They were very exciting last year. C.J. Stroud showing what he could do as becoming the Rookie of the Year and winning his first playoff game. I think that they'll repeat this year and beat the Dolphins to make it to the second round. And then the Chargers and the Ravens. I have the Ravens as the 2 seed. The Chargers just sneaking in there at the end. I think this is just Harbaugh showing that he can take a team that really didn't do well at all last year and bring them to playoff contention, but that's as far as it goes. I think the Ravens just have too much talent. Lamar Jackson, an MVP player. They've got Derrick Henry there in the backfield. He's going to pound it up the middle there, and he's got a lot of speed still. The wide receiver core looks good. Their offensive scheme is good too. They just need to make some adjustments when the passing game isn't there to go to the run, because they should be able to run the ball really well now, even with Derrick Henry complementing Lamar Jackson. So I see the Ravens knocking off the Chargers in that first round game. And then in the next round, divisional round, the Jets against Kansas City. I'm afraid it's just too much for the Jets. They're not going to be able to beat Kansas City. Kansas City's won 2 Super Bowls in a row. They're looking for that three-peat. They're on a mission as well. I think that with Mahomes out there, probably going to be a candidate for MVP this year, on a mission to get that three-peat with some of the talent they've assembled around him. They look better on paper this year than they did last year. The Jets, really first time in the playoffs in many years, with a team and players that really have not had much playoff experience except Aaron Rodgers. I don't think they can beat the Chiefs. And then the Texans against the Ravens. I think this will be a close game. It's a repeat of last year, and I think you get a repeat result. I think the Ravens will beat them. They'll be playing at home. Probably pretty cold there. I think the Texans will give them a better game than they did last year when they played well in the first half, and then they just fell apart in the second half. I think it'll be closer, but I do think that both quarterbacks will play well in that game. I just think the Ravens have too much this year with the run and the pass combination there, with Derrick Henry coming into the backfield and Zay Flowers out there at wide receiver with another year of experience, his rookie year last year, and Tom Munkin with the passing scheme that's made Lamar Jackson a feared passer in this league. So it winds up being the the Ravens and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And I think it will be, again, a close game like it was last year. This time, though, played in Kansas City Stadium. I think that makes the difference for Kansas City. Their fans are just unbelievable and in big games. The excitement level, the noise level, I think that's going to be too big for Lamar and company. Again, I think the Chiefs on paper look a little better than the Ravens, who had to make quite a few adjustments both on offense and defense with new players this year. Unfortunately, I see the Chiefs beating the Ravens. So I would like to see Lamar get to the Super Bowl, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. So now we wind up with a repeat of last year's Super Bowl, Nate. San Francisco and Kansas City. Kansas City trying for that three-peat. San Francisco trying to have a revenge game against Kansas City and atone for losing the lead both in the fourth quarter and in overtime last year to lose the Super Bowl. I'm picking San Francisco to upset the Chiefs, deny them that three-peat, and get the Super Bowl as Shanahan has been waiting for many years. Brock Purdy getting his first Super Bowl. McCaffrey, all of those guys on that team, very few of them have ever gotten have a Super Bowl ring. They're going to get their first one this year.
And so there it goes. I got Lions over Bengals. You have 49ers over Chiefs. You're going to stop the three-peat at the very, very end.
Yep.
Very ceremonious for you got Brock Purdy getting a Super Bowl in his third year. Trent Williams, Ayuk getting contracts all around. So yeah, there we go. Those are our picks. 49ers me, 49ers you, Lions me. So there we go. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but coming up, special guest, one of my friends, longtime Giants fan, Nick Santelli, stops by to debate the Giants and what his outlook looks like, or what his outlook is on the New York Giants season, as well as he makes his playoff picks and Super Bowl picks coming up right after this.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. Not as always, but this time I'm bringing in a new guest. One of my longtime friends. We've been friends for over 10 years at this point. We've argued Giants for numbers of years now. We're going to do a little precursor. I'm not going to spoil it, but something coming up. You're going to be back on the show. My longtime friend, Nick Santelli. How are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing great, man. What's going on?
We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it, though. The New York Giants. You're a Giants fan. I gave you the credit of being a Giants fan for a long time. We've had debates on Daniel Jones before. Just a couple years ago before the season started, we were debating Daniel Jones' top 10 quarterback. Now the season completely fell on its ass. But I want to know, though. You got Malik Neighbors. You drafted the guy who a lot of people thought they would if they're not going to go quarterback. They could not trade back with the Patriots. What do you think that... Actually, hold on. Before I do that, I want to bring up a quote from Devin Singletary, your brand new running back after losing Saquon, because this is ridiculous. He goes on Ty Dunn on his Go Long podcast. He goes, quote, "I'm coming to show you week in and week out how I put it on the line for my guys on the left and right of me. I'm going to go all out every time. You're going to get the most out of me every time. They'll find out soon enough. Stay tuned." This is your new running back, Devin Singletary, coming over from the Texans, also previously on the Buffalo Bills. What are you expecting from the Giants in 2024?
Tank for a quarterback.
Tank?
That's probably what's going to happen. Daniel Jones is not the answer. If anybody thinks Daniel Jones is the answer, they're delusional. It's year 6. This guy's injury prone. Listen, I was high on Daniel Jones because of what I saw, and I wanted to. I was trying to. I didn't want to give up faith, but I had to. No more than 5 wins. I'm gonna say top 5 pick. Jalen Milroe is my guy. That's my guy. Obviously depends on the season, but Jalen Milroe is my guy.
Really?
That's my guy. Depends on how he plays the season, obviously, but Jalen Milroe. That's what I wanted as the next Giants quarterback behind center.
Really? Not Carson Beck, Georgia, not Shedeur Sanders, Colorado. You're going with Jalen Milroe, Alabama.
I want the rushing upside, but Shedeur Sanders is not going to be good, and he's going to request $100 million a year.
Well, actually, you know what's funny? Deion Sanders recently said he's going to pull an Eli Manning. So my guess is he won't even allow Shedeur to go to the Giants. He's probably looking at. I think you've already heard this. He wants to go to a warm weather team. So the Giants probably won't even get Shedeur anyway. So Jalen Milroe.
Yeah,
that kind of.
I'm fine with Carson Beck, but that's my top pick because the rush. I don't think Carson Beck is any rushing upside. I didn't really watch him play, but he's kind of just a Joe Burrow type player.
Very interesting. I want to know your defensive front. I've gotten grilled by saying the Giants are not going to be very good. Yes, maybe initial when you go win-loss and you get your feeling about it. The initial front for me was 2-15. You look at it again, you realize who they draft, and it's like, okay, Malik Neighbors, we've got to figure out how they gel with one another. You've been big on their offensive line and defensive lines. Which one are you more confident in? Your brand new offensive line or just the acquisition of Brian Burns on your D-line?
D-line, 1,000%. That O-line, it's still got a lot of question marks. Evan Neal somehow still debatably in that lineup. That guy is a cancer to the team.
Well,
needs to flip burger somewhere.
That's crazy. Well, I will say this, though. Currently on ESPN's depth chart, you got Jermaine Illuminor starting over Evan Neal.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
You got Andrew Thomas, John Runyon, you got your JMS, and you also got Greg Van Roten. I think he came, from the Raiders last year, and then Illuminor, who also just came from the Raiders. So, yeah, I think it's right that you're trusting your defensive line much more. But you're thinking that on big time picture. You said 5-12 is the ceiling for you guys?
I mean, listen, I'm never going to count out my Giants, all right? But I think realistic expectation is no more than 5 wins. If we can make it to maybe 8, 9, I'll be happy. But honestly, it's only delaying the inevitable, I think. So I'm hoping for highest pick, get a quarterback, and then maybe compete.
Well, the really only opportunities you have just based on the strength of your schedule. You're currently favorites against you're 1-point underdogs against the Minnesota Vikings. Your favorites against Washington, Carolina. That's it. Washington, Carolina, you're only 2. Washington at home, obviously. But the other ones that could be close. Bucks, only +1. Saints, only +1. Indy, only +2. And I'll include Minnesota there as well. So if you win again, we're looking at 6 wins could potentially be your ceiling just based on the closeness. I guess you could say, albeit I've ripped on Daniel Jones. He does well against Washington when healthy, and not when Dexter Lawrence gets a bad penalty and you guys tie. He does well. I believe he's actually undefeated against, or he doesn't have a loss against Washington.
Yeah, I think he's like 7-1 tie or something like that. 7-0-1 or something like that.
You thank Dexter Lawrence for that. We were actually watching the game together when that happened. So I think the ceiling, if Daniel Jones doesn't suck, is 7 wins. That's the ceiling. Realistically, you're looking at 4 to 5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I also think Daniel Jones will probably be benched maybe like week 5 or 6 for Tommy DeVito or Drew Lock if healthy.
You're still wrong, because I know that we've had this conversation before about Tommy. You're seriously saying Tommy DeVito this season over Drew Lock?
I mean, I didn't really get to see much of Drew Lock. He had like 5 plays and hurt his hip or something like that this preseason. But that one drive last year in Seattle kind of might have sold me a little bit. So we'll see. I just can't see that man. It's been 6 years. I need someone new. I'm over it.
Well, I think Giants fans as well, although I still get hate for saying that Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback.
Yeah.
I'll also say this on your offensive line. We always get Dan Jones had a horrible offensive line, and then they talk about 2022. Your offensive line was largely the same as it was last year. You had Evan Neal still starting. Yes, you had a rookie, but the rookie was the lowest graded center last year, so you can't say that he was an upgrade. So your offensive line kind of looked the same as it did in 23. Daniel Jones just performed worse. And also, if I'm not mistaken, your wide receiver core also looked the same. So,
yeah.
Is it just Daniel Jones?
I really do think that Cowboys game, when that kick got blocked, that just kind of deflated everybody's ego last season. That just ruined everything. Also, I think the line might have just like shot the bed. I don't know. Or Evan Neal just decided I'm going to play for the other team now. But
I mean, you look at that preseason, he just steps to the side and just lets the defenders run right by him. No, it is an ugly look for your Giants. So you're going 5-12 is your official record, Cole?
Yeah. I'll say 5-12, 4-13, around there.
All right, let's see how much hate you get in the comments for that one. All right, it's time. You came on the show. I thank you for that as always. Thank you for giving me some of your time. But I think it's time now because we always debate who's going to make the playoffs, win the Super Bowl. We do this in our own chat, of course, as well. I don't know if we're going to do it now that you're making it public. But yeah, I think it's time for you to begin your picks. So let's go with the AFC. This is your bracket, by the way. Your bracket, I'm going to comment on when you're done. I told you I would.
Okay.
Jump into it. Let's go with your AFC picks, please.
All right. So my AFC picks. Excuse me. Remove this. All right. So first off, I got the Texans beating the Dolphins. That's my first guess.
Okay.
Because I think the Texans are very good. And also, I've never seen in my entire life, what's his name? Tua beat a good team. Then I have Jets obviously winning. I think the Jets defense is unstoppable. And what's his name? Josh Allen falls to Patrick Mahomes for the 900th time. And then what's next?
Bills.
What?
Oh, yeah, you're moving quick. Hold on. Let me get this.
I'm going.
Man.
Oh, my fault.
No, you're good. You're good. Let's go. Next round.
All right. Next round. So I'm saying Chiefs. I think Mahomes can't beat Mahomes. Chiefs beat Jets. Sadly, and Jets fans lose any crumble of hope they got. No one can stop Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. They take the win. Chiefs Ravens in semifinal.
AFC Championship game right there. Let's go to NFC now. Let's go to NFC.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
So Cowboys Falcons. Who you got?
Dak sells again. First round exit per usual. I hate the Cowboys.
Kirk Cousins beats out Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Dak just. I've never seen Dak win. Same amount of playoff wins as Daniel Jones in the last 5 years. I'll ride that till I die. He is the most overrated quarterback. But I want to see that hate.
Cowboys fans agree with you, by the way. He was listed as the most overrated quarterback the Cowboys have.
Yeah. All right. Packers, Eagles. Got to be Eagles. The offense, unfortunately, with Saquon Barkley on it, it's just too unstoppable. There's no way they would beat that. And Lions, Rams. Got to be Lions there. There's no way that Matt Stafford and ancient Matt Stafford can beat the Lions offense.
Wow. Okay. Ancient Matt Stafford. There you go. Falcons at Niners, NFC divisional. Who you got?
Niners, obviously. That's probably got to be one of the best offenses in the last 10 years, easily. That unstoppable. Got to be the 49ers again. And then
Eagles, Lions.
That one was a tough one. That one I was thinking about for a while. But I just think that the Eagles defense is not solidified enough. As of now, obviously stuff can change, but I think that the Lions have a better edge over their defense than the Eagles do against the Lions defense.
So we have a rematch of last year. 2023 playoffs. This is how it looked when the championship games rolled around. So let's go back to the actually you could pick whatever one you want. The graphic will be just both of them. So whichever one you want to choose, who you got?
Unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, it's a pretty boring take, but I think it's going to be a repeat of last year. It's going to be the Niners Chiefs. And then sadly, I think that 49ers is going to sell again, and Chiefs will unfortunately three-peat.
You would go Chiefs three-peat.
Hate for it to happen.
Chiefs three-peat.
Yeah.
Now, here's something we didn't talk about.
I think it's more likely.
Here's something we didn't talk about. And it's not really throwing you on the spot, but it kind of is. Does this win let Mahomes jump Brady for the greatest quarterback of all time? If he's the first quarterback and the Chiefs are the first team to ever three-peat, does this allow Mahomes to jump Brady greatest of all time?
I think so. I don't think
You're saying
so.
yeah. You don't know. Okay.
I think you're gonna have to wait for the career to end I think it might be like a LeBron MJ situation where like LeBron has more accolades. MJ has more accolades and LeBron has better stats, and it's kind of going to be that kind of debate. But I do think at the end of the career that Pat Mahomes will take the reins as the GOAT.
So ultimately, you're saying Mahomes will pass Brady?
I think so, unless something drastic happens. But the man is just too good.
Okay, fair enough. And finally, I know I had mentioned this earlier. Ravens-Chiefs Week 1, repeat of the AFC Championship game. My dad had Chiefs 23, Ravens 17. I'm 3-0, past 3 years, picking Week 1 games. I chose Bucks over Cowboys, Bills over Rams, and I picked Lions over Chiefs last year. I'm picking 27-24 Ravens over Chiefs. Who you got?
Wow. I'm taking the Chiefs on that one, man. I disagree.
The smart pick. This ring day, banner day, it's everything.
Yeah. I think if anybody's going to have a little rust on them Week 1, it's going to be the Ravens, especially because my whole opinion on Lamar changed after that playoff game. I was very shocked with what I saw. So
in a positive or a negative way, though?
In a negative way. I'm very shocked at how he played. So I'm not too confident. I think he might get the early season jitters maybe before Mahomes would. Obviously, that man don't crack. So
let me see something. You had them as the 1 seed though, so you think they bounce back pretty decently?
I just think because their team is really good, and I think if anyone's going to have an experience in that game, it'll be Tua and Stroud over Lamar. And even if he does crumble, their defense and their offense probably keep him in the game.
I said this earlier. I think the biggest loss for the Ravens, Patrick Queen to the Steelers. By the way, also division rival. You let him go like that. Also, offensive line. Offensive line. You just lost your starting tackle, starting guard to the New York Jets. That means you have a brand new guard, right guard, and you also have a brand new right tackle. Left and right guard gone for Lamar.
Yeah.
You added Derrick Henry, though. So it's Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins versus Derrick Henry. I think everybody's choosing Derrick Henry twice on Sundays, too. So you're choosing Chiefs. You have a score for me. It's -3 Chiefs.
I like your dad's score. I think it's going to be a little bit closer, though. I think it'll probably be a one-score game, like 27-21.
27-21.
Like that, along there.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. All right, Nick, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
No problem.
I'm going to tease it. When the finalists get announced for the Pro Football Hall of Fame,
yes,
there is one player we're going to be discussing. It could be a full show. It could be a topic. But that might be the biggest topic we ever do on the Harvey Hour, is debating Eli Manning, should he be a Hall of Famer? You're coming back.
Yes.
Going to get hopefully 2-3 other people to have a debate with it. But that is going to happen. So in the next coming months, we're going to figure that out as well. So
I'm bringing my receipts.
Oh, it's hopefully I'll have you in studio. We'll have a nice conversation. Yeah. It very well could be the full show. We could do it. I because we've been talking about this for 5 years. 5 years we've been talking about this. Yeah. So to have you guys here,
5-year long running bet too.
Yeah, we do have a running bet. It's something. There's a lot. There's a lot on what's going to happen within the next couple months. So everyone out there, I hope you stay tuned for that. Thank you, Nick, as always. I appreciate you having on the show, and you'll be back. I guarantee it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, have a good one, Nick. I'll see you soon.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, so there we go. That wraps up today's show, the Harvey Hour. We thank you so much for the constant support as always. We'll be back. There's going to be a lot happening in the next coming weeks. We're going to talk about the preview of Eagles Packers coming up on Friday night in Brazil. Packers-Eagles, we'll preview that on Friday's show, even though it's like 30, 40 minutes by the time the show ends. The game will actually start. We'll also recap what happened in Chiefs-Ravens and the return of Harvey Hot Hand making its third straight appearance, as well as our weekly picks as always. There's a lot happening on the Harvey Hour in the next couple days, but as always, my name's Nathan Harvey. My dad's Stephen Harvey, so not here right now, but we will be back Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. Night, Grandpa.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley